Hello, 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 and welcome to this week's episode of the Confidently You podcast. I'm Helen, your host and head coach, owner of Fit Girl Club, online female health and wellness coach. How are you? How have you been this week? How are we doing? How are you getting on? Bit news from my end. I completed well, it says marathon, but they're lies. They're liars. It was an ultra. So anything over a marathon's classed as an ultra. But let's be honest, girls, that can range from 26.3 miles, because a marathon's 26.2 miles, up to, I think, longest, 200 odd, 300 odd. People do all sorts of ridiculous things. So we call it a skinny ultra, slim ultra. It was 29.4 miles, even though the hook you in with 26.2. I knew it was going to be longer. And it's a trail marathon, girls. So it was lots of hills, lots of uneven terrain, but it was good. I had a great time. I surpassed my expectations. And I'm not going to talk about it today in depth. I'll talk about it a little bit, of course. But I'll talk about it more when I've completed my actual ultra. But that was my B race. So I have an A race, which is my 50 miler end of July, and it was a B race just to test everything out, see where my fitness levels were at. And I was really impressed with myself and how hard I've trained to get there. But now after my quads, front of my legs, owie, 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 walking downstairs is not fun for Helen at the minute. It's from all the downhill, which I was like a little mountain goat, girls. You'd be so proud, like beep, 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 jumping around. But I don't have many hills around here, so I'm not as used to the impact on them. And I knew it'd happen. This was going to, it's part of the training, but also my big toenails. Oh, not good. Not good, girls. They weren't good before, but now they're in a state of, if they last the summer, I'll be shocked. I'm holding them on for dear life. They're not very pleasant at the minute, but sacrifices we pay. I did have new trail running shoes, which were the same make as my previous ones, but they were just hard around the toes and feel a bit big to start with, but then your feet swell, so they fit perfectly fine. So I'm just going to try a couple of things like lacing my shoes up a bit differently next time. And I've got some like toe cover capper things. I did tape them, but I'm going to put these like toe protectors on next time. So we live, we learn. That's what training's about. I had a fabulous time and I'm feeling fantastic. So this week, with that in mind, is all about rest. Rest is productive, girls. Now, I run an ultra marathon on Sunday and I am resting. Got a little walk in the morning, and the rest of the day I am resting and recuperating. But somewhere along the way, women were taught that exhaustion is proof we're not. This week's episode is all about rest. Rest is productive. So somewhere along the way, women were taught that exhaustion is proof we're doing enough. But what if rest isn't lazy? What if it's actually part of the process? And this is something I talk about all the time. It's something I've had to learn myself and something I've had to develop over the years. But rest is productive, girls, and we need to start relearning that we're not lazy. Our body needs rest, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. So today we're talking about why rest is productive and why constantly running on empty is probably the thing holding you back. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. Put your hand up. Don't do this if you're driving. Just do it mentally. Do you struggle to sit down without feeling guilty? I used to, yes. Don't anymore. Do you only rest when you're forced to? I used to. Don't anymore. Get ill. Something happens, forced rest. Do you think productivity means doing more? That used to be me. Hello. Yes, yes, yes. So these are the lies that we've been sold. We've been sold that hustle culture is like glorified by like burnout. I didn't realize that I did this until I started my own business. And I had this weird habit of running around all day. So I'd get up in the morning and do one back to back to back to back to things. And I had a weird habit as well as like not eating properly during the day. And then I could only sit down in an evening after everything was done and rest and then eat. And it just wasn't healthy. So don't know why, but somewhere along the line, women especially are praised for like self-sacrifice. Well done. She's got a career and she's a mother and she's doing this and she's doing that and she's looking after this person. She's doing everything else. And it's like, why do we feel, and this is a feeling, that we need to just constantly be doing more. And it's societal pressures. It doesn't help that having social media and seeing everyone else do it. But when it turns to like your health or burnout or things that are then having a detrimental effect on you, it's not productive. It's actually making you worse. And I used to be this person that, the busier I was, that was a badge of honour. I try and avoid saying it now. Like if someone asks me like, how are you getting on? And I know I'm busy, saying busy, I try and say I'm being productive or just different things like that, because I don't think being busy isn't a sign of success. Sometimes it's a sign of unsuccess. Like you could be doing loads of things, but doing them wrong. And sometimes rest often feels undeserved. So when I used to be like just chasing skinny, I used to be underfueling, undereating. I wouldn't eat all day and then I'd eat at night when I sat down. So that was definitely something going on wrong there. I don't do any of this now, by the way. I used to over-exercise massively. So I felt like more is more. More hit sessions, more running, just more was better. And it's not. Eating, overtraining, feeling weak despite being smaller, thinking more discipline was the answer. And I realising recovery, nourishment and balance created actual confidence in who I am. And it wasn't until I met my partner, Martin, because he really taught me about rest. And he would quite happily just sit on the sofa during the day and watch telly and stuff. And I'm like, you can't do that. And he's like, why not? And I'm like, oh yeah. And he doesn't do every day. He's really productive and he had a great career, but he's, busy with his own work now and everything. But he just sees rest as like this important part of life that I never used to see as part of life. And it doesn't mean you're lazy. Like one of my favourite things now is on a weekend, I'll go for like my long run on a Sunday, or we'll go for a walk or something, and then the jobs will be done over the weekend or before then. Sunday afternoon, film on, just sit, horizontal. Is it horizontal? Yeah, get the one right, horizontal, vertical, and relax. Brilliant. Or if the sun's out, even better, sit in the garden on my sun lounger with a book. Oh, glorious. So I wasn't feeling because I needed rest. I was feeling because I refused to take it, and I kept getting these like stages of like burnout and overwhelm and stress, and then I'd get ill, and you're just constantly running around in circles. And especially someone like me who has self-diagnosed ADHD, when I'm close to like burnout and stress and overwhelm, I am not productive. I'm doing lots of little things, but nothing well. Just messing around all the time, and then you get frustrated and you don't feel like you're getting anywhere, and it's just manic. Manic is how I describe it. And now I'm just a lot more calm and focused and stay in my own lane, really productive, rest more, and actually have more success. So what rest actually looks like. So let's talk about the physical benefits. So when it comes to like training and growing muscle and getting leaner and more toned, when you have a training stimulus on your muscles, you go to the gym, you lift some weights, you do some resistance training, you do a class or whatever. As you tear those microfibers of your muscle, I've taught you all about this before, the simple science of growing muscle. You micro tears on the muscle fibers, that's normal. The only way you'll repair those muscle fibers, and your body will repair those muscle fibers, like me now, stood here with my quads that are just stiff as bricks. I don't want to sit down to be honest with you, because that'll be more painful, standing up and sitting down. So I'll be quite happy just stood here, but if I squeeze my quads, spicy and stiff and sore. Now, if I didn't rest and I just went out and did some more training on those muscles, one, I'd probably injure myself, but then you're not going to have the gains or the increase of endurance and strength and everything in the muscle and the adaptation that you need to be stronger, more toned, fitter. The rest period after the training is where the magic happens. That's where the growth happens. You have the stimulus, which breaks it down. Rest is the growth. Hormone regulation. My goodness, girls, you all know when you're due on time of the month, if you're struggling through perimenopause at the minute, rest is so important. Adequate sleep, but also you need rest for managing your hunger hormones that I've talked about before. If you don't get enough rest, you'll be hungrier and you'll be less satiated. Your insulin levels, like every single hormone in your body, your dopamine, if you're not resting regularly, that decreases your dopamine because your brain produces dopamine and hormones and everything that I've just talked about whilst you are resting. Better sleep, like your number one rest tool is your sleep. But we talk a lot about sleep, and yes, it's very important in this conversation when it comes to rest. But I'm not just talking about sleep, because you could be someone that gets quality 8 hours sleep a night, but from the moment you wake up, you are running around like an absolute mad woman till the moment you go to bed. You probably don't sleep that well, to be honest with you, if you're doing that. And I was literally talking to one of my clients this morning about it, and we talked about her sleep quality and things she's already done. She's been with me 3 months, and she's already made her routine better. So she's listened to everything I've taught her, and I've done a podcast on sleep. So listen back to the sleep one. Go back to that episode, please. But she did all the things that I've taught her, and it's about, what she wanted to implement in her life, and she's made the changes that are going to have a big benefit. So on a normal day, she has a lot better sleep. But when she's stressed and she's been like zingy and running around, she says she really struggles to sleep better. So because you've got this I always think of a hamster on a wheel. You're just running, 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 running. Then you get to the end of the day, right, come on, body, sleep. Not a chance. Your brain's going to be like, oh, can't do that. So that's where you need to have these calming moments and more rest. And that's why it's good to have an evening routine, a restful routine, a wind down routine built into your life. And it's important to factor in that rest as well. So my hour before bed is rest. It's, in bed, gratitude journal, read a book, and then I'll sleep meditation. And that's rest. Not running around and then, I need to go to sleep now. I don't know how any of you do it. If any of you can just literally go run around all day and then just go straight to sleep and have good quality sleep. So there's a difference between sleep and good quality sleep. So when you have more rest, you'll have more energy. So you think that running around is you energized, and that's you, but that's like anxious energy that's running on adrenaline, and there's nothing wrong with adrenaline, and we all need it to live, but there's this like that nervous energy that's like brimming up. That's like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're not watching now, I'm doing all hand gestures because it's like, I always call it, it's like zingy and tingly. I get like when I'm on the edge, when I'm close to burnout, I've not rested enough, or I've overtrained, or I sleep well most of the times, I'm alright at that, or I'm stressed, or I'm reading too much, news. Oh gosh, when I'm looking at politics, I need to just stop looking at the politics, because it's just, yeah, I've stopped this. I had a full weekend not looking at stuff this weekend, and I feel so much better. Nope. I'm going back to ostrich mode. I'm putting my head in the sand and just forgetting about it, and I'll carry on with my merry life. But when I'm feeling like that, you feel like you're energized, but it's not it's not a good energy, is it? It's not like waking up full of energy. It's like an anxious energy. And that's like deciphering the difference between, feeling good and energized and just feeling like stressed and zingy and I've had too many coffees. It's not a good place to be. And that feeling, deep down that that's not a good place to be. So when you rest more, you'll actually have more energy. Before I just did my ultra on Sunday, I've had nearly 2 weeks of hardly running. It's called a taper in the industry, and you reduce your running and you rest more, and I was stretching more, and I didn't do any strength training for over a week and exercise more, and that's why on the day I felt really strong and energized. Rest is productive. Sometimes it's hard though, because you feel like it's unproductive, and there's a little voice in the back of our heads that will tell us like, oh, shouldn't you be doing this? And it's like, nope, nope. Just heed my words. Just remember, Helen says rest is productive. It'll reduce cravings. So you have enough rest, it'll reduce cravings, and it'll improve your workouts. So there's a quality and quantity discussion to be had when it comes to workouts. And if you're trying to train like 7 days a week, firstly, what are you doing? No, unless you're an athlete, then go for it. But you're probably not listening to this if you're an athlete. If you're starting out, a couple of days is enough because you need the body adaptations. Over time, you can build up your training. I tend to do 5-6 days, but I've been training like this for 10 years. I don't have kids. My diet's spot on. My sleep's spot on. But I also do rest as well. And I can also quite happily, if I've done like an easy run on a Monday, I run to the gym, so then I'll do strength on a Tuesday. Then I'll do run and like Stairmaster, so specific like hill training on a Wednesday. And then sometimes on a Thursday, I'm like, actually, I'm feeling it. So I'll have a rest day Thursday, and then I'll do Friday, Saturday, and then have Sunday off. So sometimes I'll take 2 rest days a week. It depends. And it is about listening to your body, or getting a coach that'll help you and you can just soundboard off, or getting a friend who actually knows what they're doing. Sometimes friends aren't helpful because some friends are like, no, just carry on. And other friends are like, no, just don't do nothing. And it is really hard to manage the balance in between. Mental benefits. You'll make better decisions. Like I talked about my procrastination when I'm absolutely knackered or tired or burnt out. Oh, I could spend 4 hours doing something and get nothing done. And it is frustrating. And a job will take like half an hour and you're just burning out and just getting nothing done. More patience. Oh my gosh. I haven't done this in a while actually, so this is testament to how far I've come with my rest and looking after myself. But when I get a bit like, overworked and zingy and burnt out, I always call it zingy. That's my example of it because that's how it feels. I shout at Una, poor Una. Like if she starts barking, I would just shout at her for nothing, but she's like barking and stuff, and I'm like, shut up, my poor neighbours. And that's when I know. So if you have kids or a partner or anyone in your life and you find you're like, or colleagues at work and you find like your patience is getting less and less, sometimes you're like, right, I need to rest a bit more. Creativity returns. I absolutely love this. And I love going on holiday and like taking a break from social media and things that are creative and come back and I've had a rest and I come back like and my mind is just like buzzing with ideas. If you find yourself really stuck with creativity and you've got something that you need to be creative for, just take a break. Literally take a weekend off or a week off and you'll come back revitalized. Feels amazing. You don't feel as overwhelmed. You just feel like you can manage everything. You're not just like head above the water. You're floating on your back and you're swimming and your nervous system gets regulated. And that's that zinginess goes. Just if you're living with that zinginess, please, we need to look into taking some actual active rest. And I'll talk about how to do that in a minute. Emotional benefits, you'll be less reactive, more present, more confidence, feel better, and you'll have a better relationship with yourself. So think of yourself like a phone constantly stuck on 3%. You keep forcing it to work, but eventually it'll shut down. And that's you with rest. So there are different types of rest. We have physical rest, which is sleep, which I've talked about extensively. You have recovery days from training, which I've just talked about then. If you are new to training, it's okay to take more days off. If you are feeling a bit run down, it's okay to take more days off. There's a really fine line between can't be bothered, lazy, not doing it, and needing recovery. And sometimes that is sometimes a conversation I have in my head. Slowing down is physical rest as well. Just slowing everything down, turning things down a notch. Just having a week off, like saying to friends, I'm just going to take this weekend off. I'm not going to run around after everyone this weekend. I'm just going to turn the notch down a bit. One of my clients a few months ago was really struggling with overwhelm with life and everything going on. She does have a lot on. A lot of responsibility she takes on, but we've talked about it and I've helped her with it. But she was like, oh, but my house is a mess. And I'm like, doesn't matter. You need to rest first. That can wait. It's not like she's lazy, but she needed to do certain things. And I like plan it in for a day, take a day rest and just then plan it in to get sorted out. And then you'll feel better after, but it can wait. Another client at the minute, I've said, write a big to-do list of everything you want to get done and then pick one thing to do a week and then just tick it off slowly as you go. You can't do everything at once. And I used to be the person that tried to do this as well, just constantly running. And you've just got to stop. So mental rest, quiet time. Oh gosh, no screens, no noise, no anything. Now I know this is hard, especially if you've got kids, but hopefully if you've got a partner or someone like your parents or grandparents or anyone in your life that can help you, just have even 10, 15 minutes of nothing. And I don't mean scrolling on your phone, I mean nothing. I like to use this in my morning walks. So I get up and I stay off everything until after the morning walk. So sometimes I'm with Martin. At the minute, I'm feeding Martin's mum's cat, so obviously I'm not running there. I used to do that, but I'm walking at the minute and just have nothing. It's really nice at the minute because all the birds are tweeting and stuff. But even if I go on my morning walk with Martin, sometimes we don't talk and we just have quiet time and it's just a time to start my day in silence. If my energy's up though, there's usually a song dinging around in my head. That's the only thing. When you work with not working with, when you have like a sort of ADHD brain, I wake up with a song in my head. That's when I know I'm full of energy. Mental rest, less scrolling. You think that scrolling on your phone is rest, but it's not. It's igniting different reactions in your brain and it's not good for us. This excessive amount. I've talked about it many times, but the app I use, the Focus app, excellent. at the weekend, I just put it on for 24 hours. I was like, nah, everything can just go. My clients were all set up. They'll be absolutely fine. They know I normally take weekends off, but I haven't been doing the past few weeks. I've been answering messages and I was like, it's time for me to take some time off. Time away from noise. So this might be hard depending where you live. If you're in apartment block, shared housing, voice cancelling headphones are great for this. Sounds like I listen to it all the time, but I listen to like dark noise. This is when I sleep. And it's something that I've done since I lived in Manchester, when I lived in a huge apartment block in the city centre that used to be a Debenhams warehouse, apparently. And in the night, because there were fire doors, you'd hear everyone's doors banging. And I lived on my own, so it just used to make me jump and keep me awake. So I just started listening to like dark noise and white noise, and it really helps me now. And I just put on an evening as well when I'm relaxing. Just like background, it really helps me. You can listen to meditation noise or, birds or anything you want, or outside sounds, or you can rivers, or a fan's good. I find ones with too many noises, I tend to listen out for noises, so it's not good. It needs to be a blank, just one monotonous sound for me. If you've got an iPhone, not sure about on Android, if you scroll down and press the ear for speaker, it's actually now got background sounds. And you can click on background sounds and just put those on. It's got loads: start noise, ocean, rain, stream, night, fire, babble, bus. I'm listening to my bus. Rain on a roof's quite nice. Aeroplane, what a weird one. Like, remember when you're on a plane, it's a really weird noise. I won't want that, but each to their own. But yeah, time away from just like what I mean by like, it's like get loud, not banging, and just like overwhelm. Just go touch some grass. If you live in a city centre, just once in a while, just get out and just go touch some grass and even if you put your headphones on and just go to your happy place. Bliss. Emotional rest. So saying no. It's one thing I talk about all the time. So most of the women I work with tend to be, for want of a better word, people pleasers. They'll put everyone else first before themselves. Now, I always say it's not about putting yourself before everyone else and just saying, nah, stuff you all. You can sort yourselves out from now on. If you're a mum, you can't do that. You might have like elderly parents, different things, but you were allowed to say no when your boss asked you to do overtime and you don't want to do it and you don't need the money, and if it's not for you, no is an answer. No. If your best mate wants to do something at the weekend and you're just absolutely burnt out, just like, can we not? I'm burnt out. Or say, can we do a spa instead? Or can we just go for a walk? Or just, you're allowed to say no. People that love you will always respect your boundaries and appreciate them. And people that don't deserve your love or to be in your life. Emotional rest, having honest conversations. So speaking to, people that you're with, partners, tell them you're struggling. I'm going to go really deep into relationship stuff here, but it's something that's so important in daily life. And it wasn't until I got with Martin that I really had he's the first like proper adult decent relationship that I've had. And I met him when I was, what am I now? We've been together for 4 years, so it's 34. And we communicate, even when it's tough, even when it's not a nice conversation, and we talk about things. We tend to as well, which I find really odd. If we're having we don't really have arguments, but if we're having a dispute, he will genuinely think one way and I'll think another. And it's just that we've not matched that thought. So then I'm like, oh, well, now I see it from your perspective. I understand. And he's the same with me. And so we sort it out that way. Nothing's ever usually done out of malice, but you can just hold these things in and these energies in, and sometimes you just need to have an honest conversation and then work through it together. Any relationship in your life, whether it's with your partner, a friend, or a colleague, or, a business relationship or employee, if you don't give it your honest conversation and, say, I'm struggling, I need help, or even if you've got a coaches there, good coaches will always want to help you when you're struggling. I said this to my client today, and I won't say she's necessarily struggling, but I said the thing I find most frustrating as a coach is when someone just ghosts me when it goes wrong. And I'm like, that's where I'm here for. I love problem solving and I love helping people. And I know it's hard to ask for help. But if you're paying for a coach and a good coach, they should help you with that. And if they're not helping you with that, sack them, come to me. I will. It's one of my favourite parts of the job. I love it when people are doing well, obviously, and I love like seeing results. But when I get someone that's really struggling and we sit down and I listen and we come up with solutions together because it's a team thing. I don't dictate. I say, right, what can you do? And they go do it and change their life. Chef's kiss. Like that's like the best days for me as a coach. So yeah, have those honest conversations and not people pleasing. If you've done this your whole life, it's really hard habit to break. But by just saying yes to everyone and doing everything for everyone else, you're not being your authentic self. And that drains so much of your energy. It's like putting on a facade every day, a mask every day. And we all wear these masks. We wear these masks in daily life that we have to put on. If I'm being a bit professional, which sometimes, I'm a bit more professional and, I have to do coaching mode, but it's not that different. And if you met me in the street, or if you met me in a informal setting, or just came around my house, I'm not different to who I am online or when I'm coaching. I'm a bit more professional, slightly. Like, if you're just chatting to me, I will just chat shit, but I'll be more professional when I'm coaching. And I just refuse to people please because it's just taken away from your own authentic voice and who you genuinely are. I'm not saying you have to be a dick. You don't have to go around telling everyone to, F off. Saying yes to everyone just to keep them happy. That you need to start looking after yourself and prioritising yourself, and you'll see a big difference in your energy. Social rest. So protecting your energy, like I said before, saying no. You're allowed to say no. Change plans. Can you come round to mine instead? Can we just have a cup around mine and just chill out? Watch a film. People that love you will always appreciate that. And choosing supportive people to be around you. Amen. Amen. I'm not religious. I don't know. Amen. Absolutely. So some of us don't need another motivational quote. We need a nap and a cancelled plan. Oh, I don't really love cancelled plans that much because I only really ever make plans with people that I want to make plans with. And I was another client conversation that I was having this morning. I was like, I don't really have any friends. I have my couple of best mates and lots of people that I love and know and people that I coach and stuff, but I don't have a big friend group. I spend a lot of time with people during the week and coaching and things. Yeah, don't feel sad for me though. It really doesn't bother me. Got my besties though. And lots of people that I love. All my Fit Girl Club girls are my friends, genuinely. And I'd love to spend time with them. So why women struggle to rest? So common reasons: guilt, fear of falling behind, identify your identity is tied to an achievement. So I'm not good enough. Oh, I'm lazy. Perfectionism, conditioning from childhood. I love my parents, but sorry, mum, if you're listening to this. I don't know if it was like a 80s, 90s thing. Millennials might get this more because I spoke to a few women that do get this. But you're never really allowed to sit down much and chill. And we didn't really have telly then, we did. We had 4 channels, but then telly wasn't allowed on during the day. And I get that and I understand it a bit, but yeah, the rest thing, it was just always, I was a bit lit. When you're like a lazy teenager, one, I don't have kids, but I do firmly believe now, from what I know about sleep and habits and nocturnal recovery for when someone's a teenager, teenagers naturally sleep later and get up later. Like if you read the book Why We Sleep by Matthew Whitaker, I hope I've got that right. I've talked about many times before. And in there, the studies done around like teenagers and that they're naturally more nocturnal. So school should naturally start later and teenagers would get better. So if you're struggling with teenage children, getting them out of bed in the morning, getting them to school and stuff, I salute you. But also if they want to lie in on a weekend, just let them. Isn't that easier? I was speaking to someone the other day and they said, oh yeah, my parents just used to let me. I know it was on a podcast. My parents used to let me because then you're just out of the way. But unfortunately, I had my parents, and they probably thought they were doing the right thing for me. I have nothing against them in this way, but they were like, are you getting up and stuff like that? And I'm like, so what? I worked, I went to school, I did plenty of things. If I want to lie in bed for a bit, I do, but I don't now. But I will happily just sit on the sofa on a Sunday afternoon and I don't feel guilty about it. But I had to learn that in my 30s, that was okay. When I was younger, and one of the problems that I had in my 20s and later teens was my excuse of being like lazy and having rest would be to be hungover. So I'd plan, I've told you all the story about how I'd undereat all week and then weekend would come, I'd go out, do an all-nighter, then the next day I could stay in bed all day and eat an entire week's worth of food, massive pizza, a kilogram of jellies, just lollies they called, but sweets basically, jelly sweets, just absolute slob fest. And that's what I saw as, I'm allowed to rest because I was hungover, but really that was just an awful way to do it. And it's like you're giving yourself, it's like a punishment really. So yeah, I relearn, and thankfully Martin helped me relearn about rest is being productive. So from a coaching perspective, clients will sometimes think missing one workout ruins everything. It absolutely doesn't. And I will always message them and be like, it's fine. You go again tomorrow. I'm glad you took a day off. There was a new client last week and she said, I didn't do my workout today because I was feeling tired. And I was like, good, well done. I'll always encourage that. They'll panic if they have a slow week. You mentally got ebbs and flows, motivational dip, moodal dip, energyal dip, ride the wave. Feeling good, woohoo, let's go. Feeling low, let's not go. And they feel uncomfortable relaxing. It is, you have to learn, you have to practice it, and it's something, and you will get used to it. Trust me. Even just doing like half an hour with a book or like in the bath, half an hour book, an hour bath's good. I'm going to have one this afternoon. It's a nice treat for my poor legs. Probably won't be able to get out, but always put a candle on the bath and some relaxing music. Hide, sunbed, rest, rest, rest. So rest isn't something you earn after burnout. It's something you require to prevent it. So practical ways to rest without guilt. Schedule rest-like appointments. So this sounds a bit counterproductive because rest should be, it should be chilled. It should be natural. But you should schedule it in. One of the things I was terrible at is I'd never take like a proper lunch break or sit down. I had this thing against sitting down during the day. I still do stand up a lot, but I'll still go sit down on my lunch break sometimes and have a proper lunch break and look after myself. Also, the way my business works now is I'll be working from 7 in the morning, and sometimes I have calls at like 6:30 at night. So I'm working till like probably 7:30, sometimes 8, depends how busy I am after that if I'm setting up new clients. A 12, 13-hour day that I do a couple of times a week. Imagine if I didn't just take like half an hour to go sit down outside. I'd just be, ugh. My brain would be frazzled. Stop waiting until exhaustion. This is something you need to practice to do, and you need to schedule it in like on the regular. Rest of like taking walks without tracking steps or without a podcast on, or just like do something without having to feel like it's part of a schedule, which is funny because I literally said schedule rest. But then when it comes to like activities and things, just go out, just be free. Create phone-free moments. That's where the app's coming really good. Replace doing nothing with recovering. So I'm not doing nothing, I'm recovering. There's words in the English like active recovery, and really, if you're in a rest day, you shouldn't be doing proper exercise. Really, you should be just actually resting. Walking's fine, but not hiking and not, doing any other type of training or an easy run. That's not rest. Have an evening a week with 0 productivity goals. So just one evening where you do nothing, and you just have to let it go. You just have to start letting it go. If I could do it, you can. Success leaves clues. If I can change my lifestyle and let myself rest and not feel guilty about it, so can you. Rest is not a reward, it's maintenance, and it's gonna help you be stronger and healthier and turn up better for work and family and life and friends. So you do not have to constantly prove your worth through exhaustion. So I want you to ask yourself, what would you change if you stopped seeing rest as weakness? So what would you change in your life? And what kind of woman could you become if you actually supported yourself instead of constantly pushing yourself? All right. So that was today's episode. I hope that helped. To be honest with you, I know 99% of you needed to listen to this. So send it to a friend who needs to hear this. You're helping them. And let's start being more restful and more productive with rest and stop burning ourselves into the ground. I will see you all next week. Goodbye.